Hi, I'm Greg Schaffer, and welcome to the Virtual CISO Moment. I'm so happy. This is my 250th interview for the Virtual CISO Moment. So today I have Bruno Lecoq. He is the co-founder, CEO, and Chief Information Security Officer at BEMO, a company focused on helping small and mid-sized businesses protect their data, strengthen their cybersecurity posture, and navigate increasingly complex compliance requirements. Bruno brings more than 3 decades of technology leadership experience, including 19 years at Microsoft before launching BEMO in 2010. And now under his leadership, BEMO has grown into an award-winning Microsoft partner serving hundreds of organizations across the United States while achieving certifications and compliance frameworks that include SOC 2, ISO 27001, HIPAA, and CMMC Level 2. With a unique perspective that spans cloud transformation, cybersecurity compliance, and the realities facing small and mid-sized organizations, Bruno has helped bridge the gap between enterprise-grade security practices and the practical needs of growing businesses. Bruno, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you, ChatGPT, for a wonderful intro. Now, Bruno, I'd like to hear in your words now, your background, how and why you got started in technology, and bring us all the way up through your Microsoft days and other days and through the founding of BEMO and where you're at today.
So I will start. So again, I'm from France. And when I was 15 years old, I was crazy about computers. And I saw a show about 2 young millionaires in the US. It was during the summer break. And the first one was the CEO of Domino's Pizza, and the second one was Bill Gates. And I saw again from the story of the beginning of Microsoft. And after that, I went to wake up my mom and I said, "Mom, I want to go work for a company like Microsoft." So, and from that, I came to the US. I've been in Seattle for 36 years, and I went and got a job at Microsoft, and that's where I started. And then worked Microsoft, multiple roles. My first job, I was a developer on MS-DOS, so it makes me, Windows, MS-DOS, work on Windows NT, went to hardware, Xbox, and so in 2010 started BEMO. And when we started BEMO we developed a process to deploy Microsoft Project and Microsoft Project SharePoint server in 15 minutes. Again, this was before Office 365, before Azure. And here we are in 2018, we tweaked to cybersecurity, and we have been there since then.
Awesome. Well, you're talking about the Windows days, the Microsoft DOS days. And this is going to be a weird question because I'm just curious, and you may have no input into it whatsoever, but back in the day, earlier in my career, I remember, and this is with Windows early version. I don't know if it was Windows for work. Yeah, it was Windows for work groups because it wasn't 95. TCP/IP was not native at the time. And so we had to load a third party. We used something called Chameleon. Why wasn't TCP/IP native at that time? Was Microsoft still pushing the I think it was service message protocol?
Yeah, yes, exactly. If you think in those days, like me, my first products, I was working on OS2. So what was interesting, so I worked on how you will take OS2 and convert it to DOS and Windows, so the package. And so I worked on that for 6 months. And the day of the shipping party, Bill Gates came, and said, "Just to let you know, we are canceling the product today because I am canceling my partnership with IBM for OS2 because we are going to start Windows NT."
Right, I remember that.
So again, because of all of that is which piece goes where in which order, so Microsoft was in the middle of transformation, and when you are working on a product that, again, at the time you are a dev and you understand in the back why some pieces go at the which order because all the negotiation behind. So it was just, kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I kind of wish that OS2 had not lost out in that battle in some ways because, back in the day, that was a
amazing system.
That was well ahead of its time. But then when NT came on board, I mean, that was just the.
So again, it's just interesting.
So you go from Microsoft, and you decide to do like something completely different and start a company to help small and mid-sized businesses? What
For
was
me,
the?
it was really interesting. So I work Microsoft 20 years, BMO now 16, all my
Uh-huh.
life Microsoft. So because at the end, I only do security on Microsoft. I don't do AWS, we don't do AWS, we don't do Google, we do everything on the Microsoft stack. So which means we were Microsoft Partner of the Year. So at the end of the day, on one side I was inside, now I am outside, but I am based in Seattle. I am on Microsoft campus every other week. So I still feel like, it's
Okay, so really, it's an extension of what you were doing before in some ways.
yeah, I think on one side, before I was writing and be part of a product development. Now I am part of the beta teams. Again, so we are considered one of the top 10, top 100 cybersecurity firm for Microsoft. So what happened is every January, Microsoft invite us on campus. We have an NDA and under NDA, they show us their plan for the next 12 months across the security and all the products. So the cool part for us is knowing it. We can test those products. We know what's coming. We can test it, play with it, give feedback, meet with the dev team. So it's a very, so when the feature comes out, we already know it. We are ready to deploy it. So it's
Well, I don't worry. I will not ask you to tell us what the next 12 months will bring from Microsoft because I'm sure that that's all under an NDA. But
exactly.
but I know that surely some of what is most likely in consideration is around everything related to AI, co-pilot
It's the only topic.
protection.
I feel like it's the only
I
topic.
mean,
Every meeting is AI.
I mean, it seems like that. That it's becoming a almost like I hate to use the term wild west, but we tend to use that when things are like new and we're not sure how they're all going to be governed. And so AI governance is like a huge thing right now. Um, I, I'm wondering, without going into details, would it be safe to say that Microsoft's general direction is to help with managing AI with AI governance?
Totally, totally. I think at the end of the day, Microsoft just released its public the Agent 365, and you can manage your agent. Either it's on Microsoft, it's on AWS, it's on Google. So they want to be the playing field of you have Microsoft 365 agent, you can manage all your agent one playing, independent of where they are. So I always feel like for me, Microsoft is always for me 2-3 years behind. So they will come with something. They are very, their version 1.0, I always hate it. You have to wait for the version 2 and 3. But once they have version 3 and after that they have it together. And it fits into the ecosystem of governance, security. I don't have to worry about that.
So this will probably be an extension of Purview then, right?
Oh, it's including with it's Entra, Purview, Microsoft, so Agent 365, all working together.
And I'm not going to sit here first of all and pretend that I am a 365 admin. I do just enough to proverbially be dangerous. I mean, I've worked with Purview, I've worked with Entra, I've worked with some of the elements of securing Azure and all of that. One of the things I found with 365 is I don't think it's as prevalent now, but it seemed to be that when Microsoft would change things, and it would be difficult to figure out where something was that you were used to administering. Now, to me, it seems that maybe that rate of change has slowed down because it's become easier to find what I've needed to find. Am I imagining this, or
No, you're pretty correct. I think so. For example, let's take Entra. Entra now is not evolving at the same speed as before because I think Entra is pretty mature. But again, today we BEMO, we are working on our ISO 4201 again for the AI governance, and we work with again Agent 365. It's changing every other day. It's just changing all the time because it's completely everything. I can imagine from a Microsoft, not only you're trying to set the direction, but you have to everything moving at the AI speed and change. So it's just and so this is it's just like you come here. Where is my link? It was working there. Where can I find it? So it's.
Well, I know it becomes a challenge, but then again, it's helped me to learn the platform a little bit better. But I don't. That's not a problem that's shared just by me. In my world, we work with SMBs as well too, from the virtual CISO space, and so administering Microsoft 365 usually doesn't come directly to us. It's someone within the company, but are there strategies in place from Microsoft to help smaller businesses with smaller resources, less resources, to manage 365 without getting into such a quagmire of all of
I
the
think,
detail?
I don't know here again, Microsoft, even in my days working there and still today. So Microsoft was always for me developed for partners. So 95% of Microsoft revenue come from partners.
Ah,
And
okay.
so again, from the perspective of you train the partners and every small business will work with the partners. Like if I think from our company across Microsoft, there is no way you can have one IT person that knows Entra, Purview, how to manage data, and SharePoint. I mean, it's just so many. And now you are talking about Copilot, so
Yeah.
it's impossible to do it alone. It's just too much. It's just even me in my own company, it's the only thing we do. We have expert vertically because it's just impossible.
So then that that leads usually into the next problem, where the suggestion is, well, you need to find someone to help you manage your environment
Yes.
successfully, but there's a lot of folks out there that claim to be Microsoft experts, and some are good, some are not. And what should an SMB be looking for, like to find someone like BEMO, for example?
I think again, cool. Ask for referral. Again, ask for people. Okay, how do you stay up to date? Again, from our perspective, we are Microsoft Partner of the Year 2023, which means number one out of 80,000 partners. Again, you don't have to take number one. You can take the top 100 or 200. You will find to be at that level is because it's what you do in and out, in and out. So check the credentials. And from our side, we do SMBs across the entire country. So it's not, and we don't have any specific. It can be from the defense department to CPS to.
Well, let's okay. You mentioned DoD, or I guess it's DOW now.
DOW.
Department of War.
Yes.
What are the specific? I know that there's CMMC requires carving out an enclave in order to ensure that the data, all the CUI is correctly protected. I'm confused as to how that translates into Microsoft lingo. There are other people that can say, "Oh, you need to have this package and this license and this one and so forth."
I can tell you, we BEMO, we are one of the 50 companies in the country that is as an MSSP that is CMMC level 2 compliant. Okay, so there's only 50 of us today, 45 I think, but something. So as part of our process, we did it being 100% on Microsoft. Okay, so you don't need to have other tools. You don't need, and again, we create our enclave, for the CUI, and we had the C3PO do the audit, and so you can pass it from directly be 100% on Microsoft.
Okay, I mean, it sounds complicated to me. It must be complicated when you're approaching an SMB to try to explain that you need to have this particular setup because of your protecting the CUI. How do you sell that? Not the product, but the idea. How do you sell the idea?
It's again, so for the audience perspective, for the last 15 years, if you were a defense contractor, you had to tell and do self-assessment. So you have an assessment, again, the 110 control, and you have to attest, do you meet all those control? And it was a self-assessment, which means 95% of the people will say, yes, I meet them. Okay, great.
And that's NIST 800 171.
171, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and contractor will say, yes, I pass. I can tell you, and my bet is 90% of those people would not pass it. So I think the defense department say, don't realize it. So they say, okay, we are going to have a third-party auditor to just make sure it's done. And so, which means now, again, it's interesting, it's only, they have an issue to get enough people to have it because it's just, so we don't have to sell it. It's your prime. They say, Lockheed Martin will say, if you want to keep working with me, you will have to be CMMC level 2. That's it. And you have to be by that date. So we don't have to sell it. These people will come to us and say, hey, BEMO, can you help me become CMMC level 2? Okay. And they will come to BEMO because when you are, so you're a company, as part of your CMMC, if you use a company that is not CMMC level 2, the MSP is part of the audit.
That's a very important point.
It's very important because what happens is you may be good, but the IT company that provide your service has some issues, some control not right, and you will fail because of your provider. Okay, so you are taking the risk. Again, you can become CMMC compliant with an MSP that is not CMMC level 2 compliant, but you take the risk that they will fail as part of the audit with you. They will fail.
So I'm glad you landed on that because I have been confused about that. And I think that you just said something that helps with the confusion. The company that is trying to become CMMC will say level 2 compliant. They can use an MSP that is not necessarily CMMC level 2 compliant. That isn't a requirement, but there has to be, they have to understand that they're taking on additional risk, right?
Exactly. Because you're, as part of it, you being the MSP, doing the IT, you have a role and responsibility. You touch you manage the infrastructure, which means you have access. You could have access to CU, you can have access to CUI as a global admin on the system.
Well, how would that filter? How would that flow down though? Because I know when the CMMC, the latest rule, and I can't remember when it finalized later last year.
Yes.
The one question that was lingering is that do MSSPs have to become certified or not? And so I guess what you're saying is that they don't have to, but that becomes then a competitive differentiator.
Yes.
Because, I mean, from my perspective, if I was a small business that was dealing with CUI and had to be CMMC, go through the whole C3PA audit and all that, I would want to make sure that my MSSP.
Exactly.
So
I would do the same, but some people don't know that rule. What I've seen, some people don't know it.
And then that's got to kind of like make you a little angry, doesn't it? I mean, because you guys are CMMC level 2 certified, yes. and you're providing that, and yet you're going up against companies and bids that are not, but they're not being completely transparent, likely with the potential customer.
For sure, I have no doubt they are not saying, "Hey, if you come with us, the risk is we are not." I'm sure they are not, because otherwise, say, "Why would you?" But I think.
Well, but that's an important takeaway, and this is why I like having these conversations, because I have no idea where they're going to go, but I'm glad we got to this point. I talk about, with regards to the virtual CISO environment, that it's very important that a small and mid-sized business needs to vet their virtual CISO business to ensure that they're actually getting the quality risk management, right. Blah, blah, blah. I don't want to do an elevator speech here. It's the same thing here with your service provider. It's like the responsibility to ensure that your CUI is protected at all times, no matter what, is always going to be that business. And so don't fall into the trap of like, well, hey, these guys say they can do it. It's no problem. It'll be secure. If they don't say that they're certified, then you've got an exposed risk there.
Yeah, so it's very interesting again, because I know CMMC and we get so many calls every day. So one issue that I see very often is, again, someone claimed they have been compliant for the last 15 years, but because now they have to go through CMMC, we have a customer that calls us and say, hey, I do pieces for airplane, and so which means I am under ITAR, but I am on Microsoft Commercial, which again, by default, you have to be GCC high. Okay?
Well, right. And that's the nomenclature that I always get all messed up on.
Exactly. So, ITAR equals GCC high. Okay. Which means I have to migrate your data, because again, it's completely different. And now, because it's ITAR, in the world of that, is your price for a Microsoft license is going to double.
Right.
Okay? Because again, now it's ITAR, it can only be managed by US citizen, everything in the US, all of, So now those companies are like, whoa, but now it's expensive. Well, you were not compliant for 15 years. Okay? You were, the US government didn't, you told them you were. Okay? So again, it's an interesting story, and they're like, whoa, I didn't expect that. Just whoa, which means you got a free pass for 15 years.
Well, and that should be actually a red flag, and I think it should be for all business owners that if you have like two options and one is the pricing is like completely, they're not gelling together. You're most likely not getting the same service. And if you don't understand that, you need to drill down and to figure it out. Well, how come option A is costing twice as much as option B? It's because from the service provider perspective, we're really not going to try to like over provision you. We want your business, and we understand that cost is a factor. So it should be.
I can tell you, I have a company for they are 150 people in San Diego, and they come to us and wow, you are 3 times more expensive. Okay, well, okay, so let's discuss why. So you're like, well, okay, your existing provider is quoting you on commercial, which is impossible for you to be ITAR, right? The second is your prices are more expensive. Again, it's just, so now compare apple to apple. Now you can stay with them, but you will not pass CMMC level 2 because, so again, so you do the education, and I think it's a sticker shock for the customer, like, oh, are you bullshitting me? And I will say, hey, you can go to that site, you can see the other 45 people like BEMO that are CMMC level 2, and go contact them. So I have no problem of like, I think our prices are competitive again, but I have no problem. Go see that, please go check. The last thing I want is if I'm going to have a relationship with you is based on trust. And if
Exactly.
you feel like I am bullshitting you to start with, we will not have a good relationship. So
exactly, and I just presented at a conference in Virginia last week, and talking a bit about just security in general. It's like everybody has to remember that ultimately we're not selling a product. Well, I mean we're selling product and or service, but underlying that is always going to be trust.
Exactly.
And if you start out, as you said, with a lie, I mean, how are you going to trust your partner after that?
Exactly.
So do you ever get to the point where like someone has said, okay, now Bruno, I appreciate all that you have told me, but we're going to roll the dice and we're going to go with
yes. So I have so from our sales team, I can tell you from our process, we to every customer that comes to us, we give them a total cost of ownership. So we include the BEMO, our prices, but also what you have to have this auditor here, you have to have penetration, everything that you will have to spend outside of BEMO. So we try, this is everything for you, Mr. CEO, CISO, whatever, all the costs that you have to think of. If none of the other one talk about those costs, they are not trying to tell you the whole thing. Again, none of it. So, and I'm on here, this is BEMO part, this is what you will pay, but this is everything else, from auditor, from mail. So.
Right.
So just understand, we give you the full price, is what it is. Now you want to go somewhere. If I was able to even educate you, I may not have you as a customer, but if I'm able to educate you and you learn something, I am happy already.
Do you ever, as a point of like trying to emphasize the total cost of ownership and the cost exposure of going a non-compliant way, does it ever enter into the conversation that, okay, you can try to go this way, but if you get caught, so to speak, by the DOW, here are what your fines are going to be? Does that conversation ever happen?
So it happens. So my first thing is by default, I have the luxury that I can choose the customer. So by default, I look at the customer that talks to me is interested by security and compliance, or does he just want a piece of paper? If he just want a piece of paper, we don't take them.
Amen. I don't mean to interrupt, but that's exactly our thing too. It's just like, if you just want to become compliant with something, you can go somewhere else.
It was somewhere else. So again, and the second thing I said, CMMC, I always use, I say, it's like you're going to have a baby. The day of the baby is born is when you are becoming CMMC compliant. But CMMC, you have a thing you have to do review weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually. It's a process. And this, like with having a kid, you have at least to deal with it for 18 years. So CMMC, again, the most people feel like, oh, I'm done, I have my paper. You have barely started. Okay, you have to maintain the machine and be able to, so.
Yeah, I don't think people understand that. It's just like getting to that point is just the beginning. I mean, you have to manage the program and the assets and the controls and all of that, and that is very involved.
But I think it goes back to philosophy, like me, BEMO. So again, we are ISO, we are software. I see compliance people will see it as it's a cost. For me, I see it as I have someone that comes from the outside that is going to try to find hole in my system. Mm-hmm. And I prefer the auditor finding them than a hacker.
Okay? Absolutely.
And so for me, it's a validation of like, yes, someone from outside validated what I thought was inside, how we do it, and, I honestly believe NIST 871 for me, it's a very good framework. Mm-hmm. And I love, yes, it's work, but I think I see the value every day to protect my customer, for our business. It's just, yes, I will not do it any different way. So yes, it seems to be a lot of work, but once you leave it, it's part of running,
Yeah, but I mean, it is a lot of work, and it can incur a lot of stress, and just owning a business and running a business too can incur a lot of stress as well. And so the segment 3 is always my favorite one when I ask folks. It's like I always hear different stories. You need to decompress from the stress of everything cyber information security and being an entrepreneur. So I'm curious, what's one of the things that you do to decompress from all that stress?
So I'm perfect timing. I'm a crazy soccer fan. Okay, the World Cup is starting tomorrow. So again, very good. I have my dad, is flying right now. So I go pick him up at the airport. He's going to spend the 6 weeks World Cup with me. And, instead we are going to go see some games and watch, there's like 4 games per day. And we are I'm going to enjoy, hopefully, World Cup with him.
Now, but you called it soccer. Shouldn't you have said football?
Because I guess I know I'm speaking to American, so yes,
but yeah, because if you had said football and you being up there in Washington, I would have, like in my American mind, pivoted. Oh, well, how do you think the Seahawks are going to do this year?
Which I think the Seahawks are doing very good too, so cannot complain.
well, very good, very good. I have to admit that I have not. I am not the biggest soccer football fan. Yeah. It's because of I think part of it is because of the way that we're programmed when we're brought up. So I was brought up with American football. American football is like I understand, the clock starts, the clock stops, and then you reset the play. It starts and it stops, and in actual football, soccer, the clock is constantly running, and then you have added time, extra time, and all that. And actually, the more I think about it, the more I think that that's actually the more pure way to do it. It's kind of stupid. Like, I don't know how Europeans feel about it. It's like, okay, we line up, start the clock, blow the whistle, you go for 5 seconds, stop the clock. It's like you have an hour-long football game that takes 4 hours.
I think for me, it's again, we're growing up, in France with my friend in the street. Playing soccer, you just take a ball. You can play, or you can take 2 shoes to create the goal. I mean, it's a sport that costs nothing. You just take a ball. You want to play football? Whoa, it's equipment. It's just already the entry level is just completely.
Yeah, and I do give credit, like, for folks that come up with all these different plays in American football and trying to, they have their wrist thing and they're like saying, okay,
exactly.
I'm like. They're going to start like putting in their Apple Watch or something. Well, Bruno, what plans you got coming up for BEMO and for yourself?
For BEMO, we are deploying. So now we are deploying security for AI. So again, we are pushing in. So our plan for us is CMMC and 4201 for customers. And based on that is again pushing, the whole AI security, from Copilot security to agentic AI to, at BEMO, we have 46 agents today running, so again, how do you protect our customer with that? So I think from a BMO perspective, everything is accelerating, at the speed of AI. It's just like, oof,
Well, yeah, it's like things are always changing in our industry, which always makes it interesting and never
I
boring.
always felt like, I was part of the revolution with computers, then after I have the internet revolution, then the cloud revolution, and now it's my fourth one, the AI. But I feel like the AI is going at a speed like, wow, it's just I feel like a rat on the wheel,
Yeah, but I mean, it's exciting. I've been pondering the idea of like, okay, what is retirement going to look like for me? But it's just like, I don't know. I just enjoy this so much, and just being on the cusp of seeing this, it's just a lot of fun. It's a fun age to be in.
It's a fun age to be in. It's just
Yeah.
Again, I fully enjoy it. So again, so proud of BMO. Keep going, and so.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you're having fun. I'm having fun. I hope you and your father you said your father's coming over, right? Yeah, I hope you and your father have a great time, like viewing the football games, the World Cup, and really appreciates the conversation. It's just like I always, every episode of the Virtual CISO Moment, I never know where it's going to go, and I just loved how this one organically went down that path. So I learned a lot today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and everybody, stay secure.